Hello and good evening, everyone, to BRL tonight for the British Grand Prix based at Silverstone in Northamptonshire and Buckinghamshire, then at this historic airfield venue of Race Circuit. And going to go through the driver standings very quickly. So we've got Baz Brains now leading the championship with 68 points after the last round from Hazard in second. Third, Nico. Fourth, we got Storms. And then fifth, we've got San 85. Those are your top five in the driver standings. Currently only an 18-point gap separating the field. In terms of the constructors, Aston Martin currently leads the charge there. They are, I believe, 13 points, if my maths is good, ahead of McLaren. Then Haas down on 90, 14 points further afield. Then we've got a big gap back to Ferrari with 55, who lead currently Racing Bulls by a point ahead of then the Racing Bulls. So those are your top five in each of the standings, both drivers and constructors. So who was first out onto the track? Might have been the championship leader, actually. Have a quick look. He is the championship leader, so Baz Brains goes into this race as your championship leader. Then he also, where did he finish the last time out? He finished in second place, so it weren't a bad result clearly for himself. Storms won in the Ferrari last time, won by about just 3/10 of a second, so very good result for him. However, did pick up obviously only 26 points for that, so did take the fastest lap, I believe, due to that, of course. But of course, Baz Brains still did enough to move himself into the championship lead. By the looks of it, just a few maybe non-attendees. Obviously, Hazard hasn't attended for a few races now, after he did leave the championship in the early phase of this calendar season. So he's obviously slipped therefore behind, missing the last two rounds of this season so far. And into turn one then, Baz Brains goes through two. In fact, actually, that's turn four, isn't it? Or three. Anyway, down then the straight out of, I believe that's Village, and then down then into Brooklands and Luffield. Fling it around, obviously. Luffield takes quite a nice line, not really V in the corner off, took a very consistent long line, hugging the apex of that corner there. Into Copse then we go, as he brushes down the old international pit straight. So far so good, no track limit invalidations. So far this lap is looking very neat and tidy for the first lap of the day. And of course, given it's your championship leader, would expect it to be a fairly competitive lap as well, and representative of what maybe the rest of the field is going to have to go and chase tonight. Then, so into the final two corners for then the McLaren driver through this penultimate corner, and then out of the final corner, crosses the line now. It's a 27.9. for everyone to go and chase. I believe it is then Parisville coming through the final corner. Does a 28.2. So 28.1, sorry. Is Deckley, who I'm not sure who he's got behind them. Got Alpine, so I believe it might be Chiatku. And Deckley comes across the line, only goes third fastest. Chiatku only goes into fourth. So that's then the current state of play between them. Storms, I believe, is on a lap. He's coming through Copse. He's got also the Ferrari of CR Wolf behind, and then followed by the... well, no, not followed by the McLaren. The McLaren's already set a lap. So here is Storm then, coming down the hanger straight into Stowe, as Joshy Wilco moves himself now to the top of the leaderboard, only by a few thousandths and hundredths at the moment. So very much little to separate everyone so far at the top of the leaderboard. Hazard also moved himself up into third. Where does Storms go? Storms goes 6/10 clear and moves himself up into second place. Sierra Wolf doesn't really match that lap time, only goes into 7th. So here's then Dr. Braden. I believe he got Orton actually ahead, so we'll watch Orton first, see how he's getting on. So through Maggots, Beckett into then Chapel and Vale as he heads out then that corner. I believe that's Vale or Chapel down the hanger straights, 104.5. Not sure how Dr. Braden's getting on behind, so we might just have to see what his lap time says as Orton comes across the line anyhow. So Orton, final few corners on his lap and his effort. Where's this lap time going to put him? Moves him up into 7th. Orton, Dr. Braden has abandoned his lap, so he didn't feel it was good enough. Now I believe CJ Drama's coming around the final couple of corners, and he is indeed, moves himself up ahead of Orton. So here's Dragon, currently Haas with 90 points, 14 points adrift of the McLarens, but obviously a bit further back, overall 27 from then obviously Aston Martin. So got some ground to make up, they do. Especially in the next half of the season, which I believe this might be the final race before the week break. I certainly know it's going to be my final race at least until I'm off in Italy. So can't wait to be going there, at least for a couple of weeks. So hopefully it's a good race tonight. Let's see what then Nico is doing. Currently 3rd in the championship, Nico is. So, Nico currently on out lap, actually, to be fair. Not sure if anyone's on a improvement lap. That's my issue at the moment. CJ Drama crosses line 11 seconds down, so Sierra Wolf is, but he's invalidated, so that's not going to count. So virtually right now just in that awkward phase where no driver's really on a better lap, or no driver is improving at the moment. So literally Nico is the next driver to start a lap, which hopefully be competitive, and let's see what Nico can do tonight. Then did have that win earlier on in the season in Imola, of course. So how can he maybe continue that form? I believe, did he take the podium also in China? I think he might have done. Can't remember, it was a couple of races ago though. Certainly remember his win though in Imola. It was a very decent win for himself, and I'm sure a win that he's pretty proud of. I believe it was his first win, he said, in any league. So, you know, that's certainly an achievement, a personal achievement for himself, at least. Anyway, Nico coming through then Maggots and Beckett's into Chapel and Vale down the hanger straight. Let's see what his lap time so far saying. It's a little bit off where Autumn was. He was around the 104.5, so yeah, certainly a little bit down on that. So I wouldn't expect this lap be any good, and very wide at Stowe. So yeah, this lap not quite looking where it needs to be in terms of competitiveness. Let's see, however, how it just ends. Maybe it does end in a decent fashion. Does go up into 11th, but, you know, a long way off the others at the moment. How's Dr. Braden getting on? This is his second actual attempt. Obviously did come into the pits for a new set of tyres, though, which first attempt, I believe he invalidated. Let's see how the second attempt stacks up. So second attempt comes across the line now and goes behind, ahead of Nico, but still behind CR Wolf. So would expect CR Wolf to have a bit more time in his lap. In fact, everyone should have a little bit more time as the circuit just grips up. So yeah, not necessarily a great lap. Chiaku, I think, has come across the line and gone 2 seconds quicker. So that just shows you, I think he went 2 seconds quicker. 28.2, so yeah, he did. So Chiaku now moves himself up into the top 8. Percival, is he on a good lap? Let's see. First sector a long way off, middle sector also a long way off. So, no, not on a good lap. CJ Drama's moved himself up a little bit further. So, who's next then? Because I believe it'd be Alton maybe. So, yeah, Alton right now is on his second run. And Alton's going to come into the pits. So next is CSR Wolf. As he comes across the line now, where does his lap time put him? Puts him in 10th on his second run. So not bad, not brilliant, I suppose. Here's Sam. So far hasn't actually done a lap, so let's see how he gets on. Then, as he comes through, then Maggots, Beckett's and Vale. Bit wide there, though. And that's going to lose him certainly a bit of time. It's a 1:04.3, so a few times up on where I believe it was Chiaku was, or Nico. But many tenths down on where others might have been. So San coming through the final 2 corners. A little bit of a wobble as well, which certainly shows not happy maybe with car balance overall, but crosses the line. And he currently only goes 11th. So it's 11th place for then the Haas driver. So Joshy Wilco, let's see if he's improving, is on a second lap on these, well, what would be now scrubbed soft tyres, and is actually improving by 38 thousandths, so it's a slight improvement by then the, well, Red Bull driver, the RB driver. As we are approaching the final 3.5 minutes of qualifying. And then here, and moves himself nicely up into the top 2, but he will not probably have time to get back around and to go again. So that is his final lap. So the 27.6 is going to be then what he's obviously got to offer, and he won't go any quicker than that, unfortunately for him. So that's going to be the end then of his qualifying for the McLaren, for the RB driver. So who is out of the top runners going to be first out there? It's going to be Bazbrains. So Bazbrains is going to be the first one out, then of the top runners to go around and try and set a lap. That could be good enough for pole. Currently is 3/10 down, so where can he find 3/10 of a second to obviously try and get himself onto the front row or onto pole position? To get onto the front row, only would need about maybe 2/10, but to get pole would need obviously that 3/10. So far, Storms hasn't left the garage, so I'm not sure if he's feeling comfortable enough on that 127.4. If he is, sounding a bit of a brave call. But anyway, here we go then. Bazbrains started his lap then in the first sector then. Can he improve in this lap? Let's see how his first sector is going. It's so far down at the moment by 39 thousandths of a second. How is the middle sector going to go? Does have his teammate ahead of him, maybe to give him just a slight toe, but it looks like his teammate's getting out of the way pretty quickly, so no team games or team play at McLaren here then. So through Chapel, through Vale, through Magnets and Beckett's, of course. Down into the hangar straight. Still not improving, and lap is now down by 42 thousandths. So doesn't look like it's even going to be good enough to jump ahead of Joshi Wilco. Looks like right now this lap is not there. So 2 corners or 3 corners to go through the penultimate corner, through the final corner of the lap. What lap time is this going to be? Finds a big chunk of time in the final sector, moves himself just shy of the pole position, but it is still then pole, second place, front row at least for then, Bazbrains. So who is next to come across? I believe it's Paravetzel. He's up by 22 thousandths, but currently over 6 tenths adrift. Where's Deckley? I think Deckley is one I want to keep my eye on a little bit more, because he is in the 27.8. So Deckley right now is only down on his lap time. Again, does have his teammate ahead of him. He didn't give, obviously, his teammate the toe, but is his teammate willing to repay him a bit of a favour here to just try and help his teammate out, just to sort of try and get that pole? If they could, that'd be brilliant. How is then Dragon's lap getting on? Dragon's up by 2/10. So Dragon's really doing well. Now, let's see how Parazville gets on. So Parazville, GL, gonna come around the final few corners now. And let's see where his lap time is going to be. Does he improve his lap by any means? No. Here's then Dragon. Does he improve? Yes, and moves on to pole position. What's Deckley doing? Deckley's in the pit lane. So we've only got Storms and Hazard to go. Hazard is, I think, the actual last car to do a lap. So Storms is ahead of Hazard. So Hazard we won't know until obviously he comes through the final corner. He's probably the last driver I would consider potentially at play. Dragon though moved ahead of Van Storm, so this is going to have to be a even better lap by the Mercedes driver. Is it though? Coming along nicely, so far up by 79 thousandths of a second. So what can he find in the middle sector, final sector? Right now needs about 1/10 of a second, so it's very close. This one a little bit of a slide out of Stowe, or into Stowe I should say, through the final few corners, and is going to round them now. Is this going to be the pole position? Yes, so far it is, but by only a few thousandths. What is Hazard doing? Is he going to be able to snatch it at the last grasp? Where can he go? Moves himself up into the top 5, but not pole, unfortunately, over 4/10 off. But it is Storms proclaiming pole position once again, and it's Dragon following in second. Bazbrains is completing the top 3. So there is the top three and your top grid. So Storm's on pole from Dragon, then Bazbrains in third. Joshi Wilco fourth, then it Hazard in fifth, Orton sixth. Seventh is Deckley, followed by Parisville in eighth, then Chiaku in ninth, San 10th. Drama takes 11th, followed by Jimmy Jags in 12th. Where did Jimmy come from? CSR Wolf in 13th. Braden 14th, then it's Soft in 15th, and Nico disqualified from the session. So that is going to be your starting grid then for today's race. And, well, it'd be intriguing to see how they get on. Of course, well, it is going to be a wet race now, which just adds a new dynamic into the equation. Has anyone put on a wet setup? Has anyone just chucked on a bit more downforce to compensate for that rain? And did that hamper anyone's pace in the dry? Of course, those are the questions. And now that's probably got to be asked, and we're going to find out very, very shortly. But yeah, with the wet weather, certainly this is going to be a intermediate, maybe a full wet start. It does look like it is raining pretty heavily, so I wouldn't be shocked if we see the full wets potentially. Overall, it does seem like it's coming down fairly heavy, not the heaviest. So here we go then. The lights are on, and it is 5 red lights, and it's not a good start from Storms. He's just stood there. I'm not sure whether he went into anti-stall, but he's literally then not made a good start. A few cars off the road in through turn 1 and up the hill, and it's Parisville in the background, out of control, and with a broken front wing and off the road into the gravel almost. But it's Dragons who is into first. Then Bazbrains Joshi Wilco is in third, followed by Hazard, who's on the tail end of the pair of them. As we go into Brooklands, it's Hazard challenging Joshi, side by side as they go into Brooklands. It's going to be Joshi with the inside line for Luffield. Hazard is going to have to go around the long way if he wants to make the move work. In the end, Joshi wins that battle out for now. Deckley, though, is also coming in hot with 5th place at the moment, followed by San, and then it's Jimmy Jags up from 12th into 7th and sliding his car through Cop's corner, followed by his teammate Storms, who is obviously reserving for Mercedes tonight, having driven probably about now every car in the league. So there's the predicted stop. So actually a 0-stop race possibly on the cards here. Anyone? Not really sure. That is what's basically recommended. But yeah, if that is the outcome, a 0-stop race, well, it could go one or two ways. Either get really boring really quickly, or, you know, whatever. Anyway, what's not going to be boring is Joshi Wilco going up the inside of Deckley. Deckley then is right now pressurising, though Joshi Wilco could. Joshi losing a lot of time to the back of the top 3. Already he's 1.6 seconds behind Hazard, who's overtaken him for 3rd. So this is a battle then for 4th at the moment, and it's got a bit of a group of cars that stretch all the way down, really, the back of the field. But Deckley's now coming under the pressure from Sansan. Almost looked like he was going to be on the rear end of Deckley, as we see a Red Bull in the background. That'll be Dr. Braden again going off the circuit. I think that's the second time this evening he's been off track. Jimmy Drags, though, got as well Storms all over his rear end, and well, how does he keep his teammate behind, who obviously qualified on pole? So right now riding on board with the other Mercedes driver. Got a 2/10 gap ahead of him. Good thing is, he is in the hot seat with all the action. He's getting attacked from behind, as we can see. Getting also a little bit doing his own attacking from the front, but it looks like he is about to be overtaken. So Storm side by side into Stowe they go. Still got the inside line through Stowe. Still they're side by side as they head into Club corner and through the final turn. In the end, Storms wins that battle out ahead of Jimmy now. Sam right now heads obviously him, so that'll be Storms' next target. Now Joshy's just started to improve, hasn't dropped back so much on the last few laps. Seems maybe he's just found his rhythm. However, out front, I'll tell you who has found their rhythm. It's Dragon. 2.4 seconds now clear of the field, almost pulling out a second a lap at the moment on Baz Brains. Hazard also looking like he's in a very raceable mood in these conditions at the moment. He's right now tucked right up behind the McLaren of Baz Brains for then second place. Obviously, these two currently are the two in the championship at the moment, leading the way. Overall, the points gap between them is only, I believe, 8 points, is it? Let me just quickly double check that. Yeah, 8 points, 7 points actually. So, two of the main championship protagonists. Then, is Hazard close enough to make the move? Hazard is close enough, but can he get past? Unfortunately, not on this occasion. Still looks very close coming out of Stowe. Maybe has a little cheeky dive into then Club, but in the end doesn't go for that and decides to resort just to stay behind for now. Obviously no DRS in these intermediate conditions, meaning the drivers are going to have to get all their passes done organically, and that obviously makes it a lot sometimes harder for the drivers. But I'll tell you what, Deckley may have just made that pass a little bit too easy for Sam there. There's a little bit of contact made by Storms and Deckley. Storms going into the rear of Deckley as Jimmy Jags now going up the inside of Storms again. So Jimmy Jags and Storms side by side. Storms, well, did try to leave him a bit of space. Jimmy almost went off the track and could have been a very big collision between the two Mercedes pair there in that heat of the moment. But Jimmy still not giving up. He's trying to go down around a long way. Can he maybe get the switchback? He does have a Sauber tucked up behind him, so got to be a bit careful with Alton there. And in the end, Jimmy stays then behind then Storms for now. Storms going very wide at, not sure what turn that is. It's sort of like the exit of Luffield, isn't it? Down the International Hamilton Straight. But yeah, Storm's going very wide. He's crossed the track limits at least, I'd say, 3-4 times now there, personally. I'm not sure if he has or hasn't properly, but I wouldn't be shocked to see him maybe pick up a 3 seconds shortly for that, because yeah, he's keep going wide, and obviously track limits is the white line, not the curb, and just keeps going wide there. I don't really get it. Obviously, might be the fastest line, I don't know, maybe it's a bit of a little bit of a, what you call it, hack, I suppose, or whatever, or loophole, maybe, to gain a bit of extra speed. So, nonetheless, not going to focus too much on that, because that's pretty irrelevant anyway. So, Baz Brains, right now, sets the new fastest lap of the race. Currently, he's now stabilised that gap to just about 2.4 seconds, so that's a little bit better. He's managed to just find a bit more of his pace and rhythm once again. And, you know, to be fair, this could all come down to how you're treating your tyres, because obviously in the wet, maybe it's probably a little bit more key and crucial to treat your tyres and bring them in a bit gentle, you know, not to go too harshly too soon, because, yeah, in the wet conditions, at least, you might suffer a little bit more that way. I don't know. To be fair, I haven't really raced on this game too much to actually speak on that front, but nonetheless, we'll soon see. Now, Storm's looking quite close to the back of Deckley here, even though it has looked quite close on back of Deckley for the last few laps. However, out of Ven Village looking even closer. So this is certainly a good opportunity for Storms to pass Deckley here for what will be 6th place. And yep, does make the pass pretty easily as we get into Stowe. Deckley still trying to hang on in there. Then as they come down the hill, Deckley going for a bit of a switchback. Is he going to try and make the move under braking into the final few corners? A little bit of contact, I think, was made between the McLaren and the Mercedes. In the end, the Mercedes driver Storms wins out that one. And Deckley now down to 7th as Jimmy Jags come in under the pressure from Alton. Alton momentarily did get past Jimmy there, but Jimmy's managed to re-overtake for that position and is now up into 8th place ahead of Alton. 10th right now is Nico. So Nico in 10th at the moment, followed by CSR Wolf, who's in 11th. And, well, Jimmy Jags again getting past. And now down to 9th, Jimmy is. So starting to fall backwards, Jimmy is at the moment. Did start 12th, of course, so is technically up 3 positions. However, he is also down now, getting overtaken. Now, let's see what the gap is then. So the gap to the leader, if Storms does make this overtake, the pole sit up, will be 11 seconds. Well, 12, maybe by the time pass is said and done. So that would be the gap he's got to try and chase down and, you know, try and get back to the leader. It's a lot of time lost just from a poor start. Just didn't get going, just really stopped there and didn't move. And trouble is, I think also for Storms today, unlike maybe in previous weeks, we've seen him and he can be sometimes the absolute outright quickest. This week doesn't necessarily seem the case. Seems like he's still going to be fighting, as we can see a bit of contact between the Hassel San and Storms. Well, tried to go down the inside. San left him room, but in the next corner they just came together a little bit, and that caused a bit of a Constantino effect, leading Deckley going to the rear. But every second that passes for Storms now just adds to the pressure. A bit more contact between the Mercedes and the Haas. Haas leaves him a bit better room in the next corner, at least, as they go side by side. Still side by side. Deckley's off the track and Storms is through, but that has cost Storms a further 2-3 seconds worth of time then there. So yeah, Storms is now going to have to try and make up 14.5 seconds to the race leader. As I say, not looking quite like the outright pace setter at the moment at all this race so far. He's only claimed qualifying by about 50 about 50 thousandths or 500ths of a second, so hardly anything in it at all. Of course, we don't know if we're going to get a safety car at all yet today, as Nico, I think, just had a spin, and that's really damaging for himself. So not a good race today for Nico, having a bit of a poor one. CJ Drama's also in the wars there as well, so CJ Drama's certainly struggling a little bit. Also got a time penalty. Pretty sure he did also have a broken front wing, so he's already, I believe, made a pit stop. Potentially, I'm not entirely sure, don't quote me on that. So Bez Brains did get the gap down to about 1.7, but the gap's just creeped up again to 2.3. I do wonder, did he make a bit of a mistake in the final sector of the lap? As we see Alton and Deckley then fight out for what's right now 6th and 7th place. Also, we've got a little bit of a battle between Jimmy Jags and Chiaku starting to emerge. Jimmy right now heads that battle. CR Wolf then pulls another 3 seconds. So Deckley getting past Alton. Is he going to go round the outside? Deckley will have to try and make it work. In the end, Alton had the inside line and gets the move done. In terms of rain consistency, still just spitting at the moment, not really eased off, it hasn't, so I'm not really sure if we would see slicks in this race. Of course, at the moment, just coming down as it is, not good enough for dries, but definitely not good enough for the full wet. So at the moment, it's just one of them races where you got the rain consistently. And I do hope this race isn't a zero-stop race, because that would be so lethargic, to say the least. I do hope we do see pit stops, and proper pit stops. I mean, pit stops that are going to be game changing. Thing is, though, could we see a mix? Which is the fastest strategy as well? That's another thing. Could we see one driver attempt to not do the stops, and could we see another driver obviously try to do one? That's very much a possibility, but Dr. Braden is in now. So is this a scheduled pit stop, or is he doing something else? He's doing something else. Now, he's gone on to the full wet tyre. Now, I don't know, is that the right choice? Obviously, does he know something I don't? Is the rain about to increase and get heavier? Obviously, I'm not entirely sure it is. Let's obviously see what it is, because it looks like to me, again, same consistency. So if he thinks rain is about to get heavier, then fair enough, but I just don't believe it is going to get heavier. So I feel like that stop might be a bit of a poor stop decision. Right now, Storms has actually decreased the gap to the leader. It's now down to 13 seconds. Does though have to get through a few very fast cars ahead of him. Joshi Wilco, Hazard, and Dragon. In fact, Basrains actually is now the leader. So what's happened to Dragon? What has happened to Dragon? Oh! I'm not entirely sure. His pace is just crumbled, effectively, to say the least. He's ghosted right now. So I think Dragon may have disconnected out of this race. And obviously, well, the bad news for Dragon is, given he's disconnected, he's going to lose an awful lot of positions. And unfortunately, I don't believe Dragon added as a friend, which therefore I don't think I can invite him, sadly. If I would, I could. I'm just gonna quickly see, because ultimately I'm gonna just quickly see if I do have a Drogon. Oh, I do. Cool. So let me try and invite Drogon to the game. I do want to make sure he's able to race, if possible. But yeah, for him, if he can get back into this race before Storms gets onto the back of him, then that'd be absolutely fantastic. If not, it's a real shame, because he is going to then probably lose position to Storms. I do hope he does. Let's see, he's got about another 1.5 seconds. But yeah, that does then change the dynamic of the race. So Bazbrains now is your race leader from Hazard, who then leads Joshi Wilco. So that's your new top 3 at the moment. Then it's Drogon for now, followed by Storms, Orton, Deckley, and Chiaku. Jimmy in 9th, Nico in 10th, San in 11th. 12th is CSR Wolf. Then it is Paraxaville. Then we got Drama and Dr. Braden, and also Soft on the full wet tyres. So them two trying to do something maybe a bit untoward, but nonetheless, for them two, I'm not necessarily sure that's going to work out for obviously them. That's probably going to be very costly, and yeah, Drogon losing a lot of positions still, unfortunately hasn't rejoined, I don't believe, which is a real shame for him. Before Bazbrains now, well, he's now the new race leader, got a 7.8 second gap, and yeah, looking very comfortable for quite a decent, sizable victory right now. He's pulled away from Hazard in the early phases, was struggling a little bit. Hazard was keeping him honest, to say the very least. But now in the second phase of the race, it is the other way around. It is Hazard being kept honest by Joshy Wilco. And Joshy Wilco trying to maybe chase down Hazard for third place at the moment. Also, Storms hasn't pulled away from this trio, from Orton, from Deckley. You know, these three sticking together at the moment. I would have expected a bit more pace from Storms. I do wonder, does he have a bit of damage on his car? And it is Hazard in. Hazard is in, then to the pits. Now, what is he going to do? Is he going to put on full wet tyres like Dr. Braden and lights off, or is he going for another set of inters? He's going for another set of inters. So, does that trigger other stops? Or, like the prediction, a zero stop strategy is on the cards. Now, it's basically, what's the gap when we come out? Drogon's now rejoined, but he's going to rejoin to a big disappointment. 24 seconds off the lead, and is going to join to that disappointment of being also down in 7th. But yeah, what's going to be the gap? We know it's about 24 seconds, make a pit stop here. So for, obviously, Bazbrains, we know he's pretty safe for now, but I want to see how much that gap will come down over time. That is going to be the thing of interest to me. Does it come down quickly, or does it come down slowly? Because if it comes down slowly, you know, can Hazard catch and pass, of course, then, well, the group of cars ahead of him. You don't have to pit, remember, in the wet conditions. Pitting is not a mandatory thing. Storms is pitting, so Storms is going to be the second car opting to take to the pits and to utilise then his pit stop chance. Let's see if he can obviously make that work. He's deciding pitting is the right call so far. We do have a yellow flag also out there. It's Dr. Braden, and Dr. Braden is out. Now, does that trigger any form of safety car? So far the answer is no, but you never know. As Orton and Deckley side by side, Deckley goes through. Orton has spun the car and does a reset to track. Now, is that going to be classified as a penalty because it was caught on the stream? And I'm not sure that's exactly allowed necessarily. So for obviously Orton does hand back, I think, places, or trying to maybe hand back what he would have lost. So I mean, that's good sportsmanship, but he's unfortunately spun again for his sake. So yeah, Orton certainly losing out a lot there. The only thing is, actually, this has made it a little bit better for, obviously, Hazard, because Hazard now has got less cars to overtake. He's only got to overtake Dragon, Chiapku, and Deckley, and then Joshy Wilco to get back up into second place. So it is less cars now to overtake for Hazard. He's still got about 15 seconds to claw back, though. And he's still got plenty of cars to try and pass in doing that. And make it now one less car because Dragon is in the pit. So I feel like for Joshy Wilco, it's obviously going to be very, very tight at the moment. But for, obviously, Bazbrains, I don't know, pitting, what right now is the gap? He pitted lap 12, wasn't it? So if he pitted lap 12, he's about taken 4 seconds out of then Bazbrain's lead in 2 laps. So it's about 2 seconds a lap. Right now, the gap's about 25 seconds, and there's 13 laps to go. I just want to calculate how many seconds he needs to take out of Bazbrain in order to go on and maybe win the Grand Prix. So We'll just round it up to 25 because that's what it currently is. So 25 divided by 13. So it needs to take about 1.9 seconds per lap out of Bazbrains. Right now, he's actually doing about 2 seconds at the moment. This lap, maybe not quite. So, yeah, it's about 1.9 seconds needs to take out of Bazbrain per lap, which is going to be a pretty tall order to keep that up every single lap. It might be easy in the first few laps, but can he do that every single lap for the next, well, 13, 12, 13 laps? I'm not necessarily sure. This lap, even after overtaking Chiaku, hasn't really taken much out of then Bazbrains. Hardly taken anything out of Bazbrains, actually. As crosses line this lap is now obviously 24.6. So, therefore, with obviously every passing lap, that gap obviously gets even bigger. So, yeah, that gap gets basically bigger and bigger, basically, for the leader in terms of what it needs to be. Because now it needs to be exactly 2 seconds every single lap for then Hazard in order to go on and win this Grand Prix. We do have Storms approaching the back of Nico. Nico right now choosing the, well, by the looks of it, the no-stop strategy, which I do think is probably the better strategy if you're not like if you're not under threat. I think it is the better strategy. However, if you are under threat, I just think this is going to be a bit too much of an ask for Joshi Wilco to defend off at the moment. Yeah, I think for Joshi Wilco, at least P2 might be a bit impossible to defend from. So, looks like for Joshi, he might just have to settle for then third place, ahead of Deckley, because I don't think Deckley's got enough pace quite within his car. So Storm's going to re-overtake then, by the looks of it. Nico, however, looks like a bit of an unsettlement out of that corner, out of Chapel, and just couldn't quite get past. But can he get the move done into Stowe? Yes, he can. Down the inside at Stowe. Obviously, is on the fresher tyre. Only 2 laps old, his tyres are. Obviously, Storm's, well, if Hazard's too far back, Storm's definitely too far back. However, I will say, lap 16, Hazard has taken a nice amount of time out of the race leader, Bazbrains. So, is really, really going along. Now, if you're Bazbrains, your gap's down to 20 seconds. Do you put on a new set of tyres and, just run a new set of tyres in order to defend your win? Because I do believe Bazbrains would be capable of doing that, putting on a new set of tyres and going after the victory. Of course, yes, maybe Deckley still has, Hazard still got past Deckley and Joshi Wilco, but I don't see them particularly hard passes, as we've just seen. In fact, Deckley just let basically Hazard through. No offence to Deckley, but your teammate's leading the race, son. Literally try and at least defend him, because now the gap on this lap still got to take out a lot of time, but it's down to 19.5 with 11 laps to go. Only needs to take 1.7 seconds out of the race leader each and every lap now, which therefore effectively the pendulum has, I believe, just swung back into Hazard's favour actually for the race victory here today. 10 laps to go. Obviously, he's going to cross the line this time around, 19 seconds off the lead. So, yeah, 19 seconds off the lead. And still needs now 1.9, but that is doable, and it is looking very doable. Still got past Joshi Wilco, and then it's a clear track to chase down, obviously, Bazbrains for the race win. Obviously, I'm not sure what Joshi Wilco can do. And Joshi Wilco, not sure if that's him having problems. No, it's not. Joshi Wilco's here. So, it's going to be critical, actually, for Bazbrains' race, I think, to hopefully see Joshi Wilco hold up then the charging Aston Martin of Baz Brains. Otherwise, this no-stop strategy really, I don't think, is going to work. The only thing I'm thinking, it does look like it's raining a bit less now, which, if it is raining obviously less, as we can see, visually you can see it, are we approaching a point where maybe you could put on a set of slicks? Obviously, if you're a race leader, I don't think you necessarily want to do that, if you know what I mean. You wouldn't want to be the first one onto the slick tyre as a race leader. However, who would want to be the first one onto the slicks? Maybe Deckley? You know, nothing to lose. But for, obviously, Baz Brains, this is exactly what Baz Brains needs as we round then lap 18. Right now, Joshie Wilco is doing his damn right best to try and stop the charging Aston Martin of Van Hazard, but unfortunately not enough. But yeah, it did delay ever so slightly as we see Deckley onto the medium. So he's the first driver onto slicks. Now, yeah, that's what I was saying. Is Deckley the one who wants to roll the dice, be the gambler here? And if he's got this absolutely right, which Sof is saying he has, Sof is coming for a set of slicks. So if this is the right call, I tell you what, Deckley might just be able to get himself back ahead of Hazard. And I'll tell you what, the 16-second lead now for, obviously, the race leader, Baz Brains, is looking so much better all of a sudden. Because all of a sudden, I think the track is ready. And all of a sudden, we are now witnessing, potentially, a track that is totally ready for slicks. Should Joshie Wilco came in, though, the previous lap, having said, I think he should have now. But it's easier to say it now than it was then. A few seconds ago, track's just dried out almost instantaneously. And for Hazard, well, on slicks, 9 laps to go. Not 9, it's about 8 laps, 7 laps to go, or whatever it will be as they cross the line. I don't think a 14.1 second gap on a set of slicks is going to be necessarily catchable, but he was doing a very good stint. He still would have probably had to gain over a second a lap. He is going to go onto the softs, so he certainly might try it, but I just don't think the softs is the right tyre to go on. I think the medium might be a better tyre choice as Joshie Wilco goes on to the medium. The only thing I'm thinking going on to softs for Hazard might be a bit of a better choice of tyre just to build and extend a lead over Joshie Wilco, who right now I think he's racing. Because, yeah, Joshie Wilco might be the one he's racing for second, but that might just be able to help cement at least then second place in the race. However, at the end of the race, certainly them tyres are probably going to see a bit of tyre degradation and quite a significant fall off. Storms has actually also gone for softs, so he's opted for them. Chiracu's gone softs too. Jimmy Jags has also gone softs, so that's their strategy then out there. All of them going for the softer compound tyre, just in order to maybe give themselves a bit of a faster speed of car. However, quite also a mix of mediums out there too. So some going for the longevity, others going for short-term gain. Let's see which one wins out. Of course, not many laps to go now, which is the case. So it's purely going to come down to, you know, who can get the moves done. Unfortunately, also the gaps. Not many battles to talk you through at the moment, besides these two ghosted cars, which I don't think are in the race. I think both of them might be ghosted due to the fact they have either left the session or whatever. So, yeah, right now, only really bring you the battle for the lead, which isn't the closest battle on track. Actually, that'd be a bit disrespectful to Deckley and Joshy Wilco. Sorry, lads. Forgot you guys only split by a few tenths, 8 tenths now. So the gap between Deckley and Joshy has come down. Obviously, with the slicks now in play, does mean, well, you're back to that dry setup. So it all comes down to who has the better car in the dry as well now, not just who was doing well in the wet. Because in the wet, it's a different challenge. Do you have the right amount of downforce, and are you consistent enough? Whereas in the dry, your setup's more. If it's got a dry setup on your car, be better in these conditions, of course. Would certainly help you, especially on these slick compounder tyres. Makes life a little bit easier. Anyway, for Deckley is going through middle sector, about a second behind. Don't think he's in the DRS. DRS will be now active, so anyone who is in a second window is going to feel the effect of that. We see Nico go off the track. Jimmy Jags right now chasing him down. So Jimmy Jags in a good position here to overtake for 8th place. We'll go through the penalties. So we have Chiaku on 10. That's going to certainly drop him down a few positions. Dragon's just picked up 3 seconds himself. We've got Deckley on 3. Nico 6, Jimmy 6. Is Jimmy going for a move down the inside? He does have a look. He's now, Nico went a bit deep. That's going to allow Jimmy to go around the outside then into the final corner. And there we go. Jimmy up into 8th place ahead of Nico. CR Wolf with 3, Sam with 9, and then you got CJ Drama, but both of them two are out. Soft overtaking at the moment. Don't believe that's for position. Just believe that's overtaking Chiaku. So Chiaku, yeah, definitely going to drop down a number of positions, but with 6 seconds, few on 6, it might not be so bad actually. He's only going to be a net loss of 4 seconds. So right now Jimmy Jags would have to get down to within about 44 seconds of then Chiaku in order to take that place. So it might not actually change that at all, really. Might be no change whatsoever to that one. I'm going to go through the comments and read what anyone's been putting and saying. Hope it's been pretty active. So, here we go. Comments are none. Good. Good. Lovely. What we like to see, eh? Anyway, wonder how tier 1's getting on. So, Bazbrains currently leading from, obviously, Hazard. Then, in second, Hazard is. Joshy Wilco, 3rd. 4th, Deckley. 5th, Storm. 6th is Dragons. 7th is Chiaku. Reinhelm Vogt does have that net lead of about, does have a net lead of about 4 seconds over Jimmy at the moment. To be precise, which, as I said, does have to be 4 seconds if Jimmy wants to get past it. Needs to bring that gap just put down by another second at least. However, Chiaku, is he on the mediums or what tyre is he on? He's on softs actually, so there isn't really much of a difference in their compound between them. So that certainly might help Nico, maybe, gain a place if their tyres start to drop off. But right now, 4 laps to go as we cross the line for the 23rd time. And I believe Bazbrains just set the fastest lap, so he's now starting to just lay down then the final nail into the coffin. This is going to be his first win of the season, and if he does take this win, fastest lap, well, just now gone back to Storm, so has to try and do it all over again if he wants to take the win and fastest lap. Nonetheless, he will gain a decent 3 points, I believe, or 4 points. It is in the championship standings. Currently got a 7 points advantage, so certainly going to increase it up to about a 10 point, 11 point advantage over Hazard. Hazard right now, if he can maybe take fastest lap, that'd be a good effort, but right now I don't think he can. Let's see what this lap is going to be for Hazard, if he's going to be able to take fastest lap or not. Right now would probably need to be around the 107s here. What's his lap time? So 108. It's 5 times up though, so he's going along strong. So let's see, his current best time is a 105. So actually this might get into fastest lap territory. Let's see. So it is going to be Baz Reigns, first one to cross the line. Does he get fastest lap? No. So Hazard, can he get the fastest lap? Because that would certainly help him out in point standings. So crosses the line now. Yes, does get the fastest lap. So takes that by a good margin actually. So that's a very decent margin. Anyone else want to take a fastest lap? Deckley doesn't get fastest lap. Misses out by a number of attempts. So for Baz Brains, I mean, if you can do the fastest lap, well, he's currently set the fastest first sector, 6 tenths up on his personal best. So let's see. I'm just wondering though, would it be worth, you know, basically backing off a little bit, recharge your battery so it's absolutely full, and then, of course, once it's full, go for it. Just put your foot down and try and take the fastest lap on maybe lap 26 or something, if you've still got enough tyres left in it. But let's see what the middle sector's saying. Middle sector's up by a very nice margin, 8 tenths to the good now. So this is certainly probably going to be good enough to get back onto the fastest lap. 8 tenths should move him roughly into the 134 ones. So I'm not sure Hazard can respond to that sort of pace. We'll have to wait and see. So right now that's best battle can provide you really at the moment. Battle for fastest lap. So what is this going to be for Baz Reigns? Himself into the 133s. Hazard isn't improving, so back then goes fastest lap to Baz Brains. And you know what? I don't think that is then going to be taken away from him on this time around. Unless Deckley has something to say about it. Is obviously his teammate for McLaren. As Joshie Wilco takes the fastest lap. So there we go. Joshie Wilco takes fastest lap. Deckley now also going faster. So to be fair, I don't think Baz Brains would really be too bothered or too fussed if maybe one of the others got fastest lap, so long Hazard doesn't get fastest lap. If you're obviously, if you're Baz Brains, that's probably the main goal, is to make sure Hazard doesn't get the fastest lap, because if Hazard gets fastest lap, just saves or potentially gives a point. Now, Hazard is seemingly going a bit slower on this lap. I do think he's trying to recharge his battery and maybe just give it one last attempt then here to take the fastest lap of the race. Right now, Baz Brains isn't going any faster on this attempt. And I don't think Hazard is going any faster either. Hazard actually is improving by 2 tenths. But his battery is very high, so why don't he just use a bit more battery? Because he is improving by 2 tenths. San now takes the fastest lap, and that's on softs. So San definitely going for the fastest lap at least. Himself down in 11th. Just wondering, is Hazard going to use his battery more? So it does improve on his personal best by a tenth. Of course, is over a second off. I'm not sure he can beat a second. Joshie Wilco now takes the fastest lap. Obviously, times are tumbling. And we are now on the final lap of the race. So, Baz Brains, what can I say about him as he takes us around the final tour for the final time? He's led a phenomenal race. Of course, Dragon should have probably maybe fought it out for the win, but unfortunately for Dragon, did have disconnection issues, but cannot criticise Baz Brains' efforts and work tonight, this evening. He's led a fantastic race to obviously potentially win here tonight at Silverstone. And is up by a tenth on his own PB, but not going to be nowhere near enough in terms of getting the victory, getting the fastest lap, I don't think. Let's see though, as he will cross the line for the final time and rounds the final few corners now to take the victory then at Silverstone to extend his points in the championship to about 10 points now, clear. Crosses the line, doesn't take the fastest lap, but it won't really matter. Does Hazard have enough in the tank to take the fastest lap? Going to finish nicely on the podium. Does take the fastest lap, but how long is that going to stand for? Because Joshi Wilco's on a quick one too. Joshi crosses the line, takes now the fastest lap off Hazard, unfortunately, but takes the final podium spot as well. Declan crosses the line in 5th. Storms takes 4th away from him. It's going to be Drogon next, very much in the clear. Also, Jimmy's had a moment as Drogon now takes the fastest lap. Chiaku comes across the line. Is he going to take the fastest lap? He does have a 10-second penalty, I believe, to be applied. Yes, there we go. Did he take the fastest lap? I'm not entirely sure. That 10-second penalty is obscuring it. And yes, he did take fastest lap, so he's the new fastest lap holder. See, SR Wolf crosses line, finishes 8th. Nico finishes 9th. Jimmy 10th. Not an end result he would have aimed, certainly a few laps ago. Here's San then. He's going for a push one. Maybe he's going to take the fastest lap. Let's see. So, Drama's certainly finished. I think we're just waiting out on San. I don't think this is going to be the fastest lap. But nonetheless, San's going to finish in 11th as Paz Reveal takes 12th. Drama 13th and Soft in 14th. And there we go. San crosses line and finishes off today's race for us. So, driver day goes to Nico. I'm not really sure necessarily about that. No offense to Nico, great driver, or good driver, I should say. But not sure about fastest lap driver of the day. I don't really know who gives driver of the day to. Maybe Bazbrain's pretty dominant display. I think that's fair to be said. So yeah, I think driver of the day, in my personal opinion, has to be Bazbrain's. You know, very good drive, very good overall weekend actually, or Grand Prix for himself. So yeah, Bazbrain's spraying the champagne with obviously Hazard and Joshi Wilco for the first time. So that's your top 3. So I'll go through the final finishing order. So it's Bazbrains with the win over Hazard. Then 3rd is Joshi Wilco. Storms takes 4th. 5th is Deckley. 6th then is Drogon. 7th is Chiaku. 8th, CSR Wolf. Then Nico in 10th. Jimmy Jags takes home 10th. Then San is in 11th. 12th, we got Pazaville. Then it's Drama in 13th. Soft is a lap down in 14th. Orton didn't finish this race, unfortunately, and the same is said for Dr. Braden. So only 2 non-finishers out of the, 17 races? Oh, 16. 16 races that we had tonight. And it's Chiaku with the fastest lap with the 1:32.5. So that's been today's race. I'll see you all probably in 2 weeks' time, and have a great week then, and see you next week.